one with all the earth. I rise, breathing in blessings. I rise, one with all the earth. I rise in the presence.
Hello.
The presence of
Sorry about that.
I
Try to unmute myself and
one with all the earth. I rise, breathing in blessings. I rise, one with all the earth. I rise, in the presence of the infinite. I rise, one with all the earth. I rise, breathing in blessings. I rise, one with all the earth. I rise, in the presence of the infinite. I rise, one with all the earth. I rise, breathing in blessings. I rise, one with all the earth. I rise, in the presence of the infinite. I rise, one with all the earth. Breathing in blessings. I rise, one with all the earth. I rise.
so Erev Tov, and welcome. Thank you all for coming tonight to Home for the Holy Days, making the most of it with your two very animated hosts. I am Julie Snitzer-Levine, Director of Supplemental Education, and of course, the ever wonderful, effervescent Rabbi Jessica Yarkin.
Erev Tov to everyone. Thank you for joining us for our part 2 of making the most of being at home for the high holidays. As you can see, we have collaboration for this session because our wonderful Director of Supplemental Education, Julie, is just brilliant at these things, and also this summer has taken courses with other Jewish educators to help think through how we can make this experience as good as it can be. So yeah, I'm going to pass it back over to Julie, and Bavakasha.
Awesome. So we're gonna, actually before we go, I just want to ask everybody if they could just mute themselves for a bit, because we will get to where we need to. So it's interesting because a lot of times when we think of so much in our own Jewish ritual lives, we know two ways of approaching it. we always, and we never. And a lot of times we wind up here. Which is only fun for so long. And finally, we have gotten to the year where neither we always nor we never really applies, because for certain, we've never done the High Holy Days quite like this, but we always do them. And so this is kind of the year to shake it all up and see what happens. And Rabbi Yarkin and I are going to share some ways in which anybody can hopefully engage with all of their six senses. Tonight, we may refer at times to things that families can do together, because as a something that we were asked to do, which we were happy to, we are recording this tonight. So sorry, did you record yet, Rabbi Yarkin? Okay. It's not going to be shared with the world. However, there is an ECC town hall tonight, and we know that some of the parents were interested in this. So we are recording it so that it can be shared with that community. If you do not want to be on camera, that's fine. You can hide your video, you can whatever, but we just wanted to be able to share that a little bit in transparency. So I want us to kind of all get into a mindset. So as I was doing all of these different classes and workshops and webinars this summer, I had this aha moment that everybody always says, when life gives you lemons, and anybody can unmute themselves and finish the sentence, you make
lemonade.
Woo! You make lemonade.
Lemonade, lemonade.
Everybody makes lemonade, except what if you don't like lemonade? What if you don't have a glass? What if you don't have ice? What if you're not actually thirsty? Which begs the question of, what else could the lemon be? And when we only take the express train from lemons to lemonade, are we actually honoring the lemon? So here's what I would like to invite everybody to do. You can do this on your computer. If you minimize the screen and open up a new window, you can also do this on your phone as well if you go to your browser. Or if you don't want to do either of those and you just want to throw it in the chat, that's fine. I'd like to invite you to please go to Menti, that's MENTI.com. And when you get there, please enter these numbers right here, this code, and give us your thoughts about what else could the lemon be. Rabbi Yarkin, could you actually put this in the chat so that I can switch to the other window?
Yes, 100%.
Thank you. When you get there, 57 40 067. Sorry, hold on. Give me one moment to find my lemon again. There we go. Much better. So what else could we do with the lemon other than the lemonade? Could use it with fish to add some pop to a recipe. Lemon meringue, yes, thank you. Baking, cocktail, pretend it's an etrog. Make lemon pledge. Oh, we don't just have to drink it. We actually find other ways to utilize it. A device to attack your enemies. When life gives you lemons, make hand grenades. That could work because we don't know. And by the way, you could it's an etrog, but to the end, make some even more refreshing water. So all of these, and I kind of feel like if we kept going, that we would also wind up with like an entire cookbook of delicious lemon-based recipes, which would be wonderful as well. But when we're willing to take that pause right there, look at how many other things we could do with the lemon without only limiting it to lemonade. So You know, that was, of course, one of the first thoughts that we all had when everything started was, oh, you know, we're going to be home, we're going to be this. How exactly are we going to do high holidays? Because when we all started going to our respective workshops and webinars, the first thing they said was, abandon all notions that you were going to take what existed in a very familiar but specific form in a building you can't go into, and that you are going to lift it and drop it in people's houses, and that's going to go there. They said, abandon that. That whole construct isn't going to happen, and you can still have something really meaningful and wonderful by figuring out how to still get all of the pieces in there and how to do it now in your own space. Rabbi Yarkin.
Yes, and we also realized that it's almost, and maybe some of you were here when I have talked about toxic positivity, which I've talked about at both a healing service and also, I believe, High Neighbors. We did a session on toxic positivity, that it's not always helpful to force everyone to say everything's going to be okay. Lemonade, which again, in the phrase, that's the most best possible outcome. Yay, lemonade. Not everyone likes lemonade, but obviously the saying is that, you know what, you're not allowed to sit with the lemon and say, it's bitter, I'm not okay. And we want to acknowledge that this year, not only will things inevitably be different, but it's okay if it doesn't even get you to the place of that delicious lemon meringue. That I loved that suggestion. And last session, we sat there and we said, let's at least do some work on acceptance and on anticipating where we're going to not hit that place of joy, the things we're going to miss, and hold the space for knowing that it's going to be different. There will be things that will be wonderful and maybe better, and there will be loss. And therefore that we can hold the lemons and say, I've got a lemon this year, I'll make the best of it, but it won't be lemonade. So we wanted to ensure that the bitterness is okay. And some of your suggestions were amazing because you were just so out of the box, like throwing them back and forth to someone, using them in a new and different way, you know, hurling them at your enemies, like just well done, people. Magic tricks, those
Yes.
kind of things.
And it's interesting what you were saying about, oh, can I get someone to mute themselves? I'm getting a little feedback. Thank you. It's interesting what you said about you know, there will be loss and there will be moments. A lemon is also a funny thing because let's say that you want to use lemon zest because that's where the essential oils are, and that can, you know, really liven up any number of recipes, which is great. And when you zest it too far, you start getting into a place that you're not actually supposed to be. So sometimes more isn't always more. And this is really going to be a season of embracing enough and finding like a new enoughness, which I think goes along a lot with acceptance. Like that's been my thing is, you know, where is my enoughness and letting it be there. So how do we start? And so what Rabbi Yarkin and I said that it seems to make sense to go to your happy place. You have to have a place. And so there's two different terms that we will bring up tonight. The first is the notion of a makom kvuah, a fixed place, a place that when you choose to utilize it as your sanctuary, if you will, or you could even refer to it as an altar, not an altar to pray to, but to have a place where that which you will be using sits there. It's your fixed place. And it gets to be a place that you don't have to multitask, and it gets to be separate. Maybe there is work that is involved with that, but in the same way that, you know, if we were to be in the sanctuaries and even like you'll see the white Torah mantles and everything like that, you know, maybe it's a space that's familiar, but draped with like a scarf or a different blanket, or it's a flipping of the cushions and adding something to it. But this is going to be your space, your fixed place.
Yeah.
And then
by a show of hands, who, when you normally have a high holiday experience at a Ariel, who has like quite a fixed space, like whether it's in the sanctuary or the auditorium? You know, you might be someone who gravitates to the back, or who goes to the front, or you've never set foot in my auditorium service because, nope, I need a choir, or vice versa. Maybe you have vetoed the sanctuary experience because you are an auditorium kind of person, or you know what, you just hang around with the young family experience because you love the singing and the playfulness. But either way, you know, that has become your makom kavua. And that's what a makom kavua is. You know, it's your place, whether or not it's actually labeled, but it's that side of the shul that you sit on. And again, what we're going to encourage people to do is look around your home or your garden and find that place. And we encourage you as well to have it be different than the places that you work, you eat, or maybe even that you are right now at. I mean, sometimes your computer is going to be an issue. If you've got a fixed desktop, you know, you're going to be stuck in your office or wherever. But if you've got a laptop or a phone, it might be good to pull it out, to reconfigure it somewhere. So obviously the caveat is it might not be possible physically to be in a different corner where you would do all your other stuff. But again, what we're going to show you in the next few slides are ways that you can change and put intention into your mikdash me'at, your small sanctuary, even if, you know, you're going to still be at the kitchen table because that's where your computer sits.
Mm-hmm. And the hope is by kind of blending the two concepts of a fixed place and a mikdash me'at, what you'll wind up with is a makom miyuchad, a special place. So when you think about this, one of the first, you know, not only a makom kavua, but the first mishkan, this part in the middle is very, very interesting because this space did not get multitasked. You know, when the Kohen Gadol, Aaron, was tasked to go in there, it was very explicit for what purposes, when, how, and under what conditions. It was not the family is really getting on my nerves, I need a place to go relax space. It was not for his personal use. It had a singular purpose. It wasn't multitasked. What it also did was it created a very necessary boundary, and it also allowed for total focus. And I know that, you know, that's been one of the things that has been a struggle for some people during this, is that there's no longer like a boundary between your kitchen, bathroom, living room, office, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm now working on the second floor of our house, and I fought it for a while because it makes me feel isolated. And on the other hand, when I'm done with work at the end of the day and I go downstairs, I've left the office. But it's helpful for me also to not multitask those spaces, because then for each interaction, I get to just do that and not do that and. So this is a nice moment for us to not and for a little while in some ways in which we get to be the architects of. So first question, of course, is location, location, location. Where would you want to do this? What do you want to include? And then, because as if it were, you know, a brand new house or a brand new space, something that is being opened or even reopened, how would you want to dedicate it? And so we're going to talk about those things in terms of the physical place. Now, we will get to some of those, but just bear those three questions in mind again. Is number one, where in the house, on your property, where, you know, where in your backyard, where in your front yard, whatever it works. What are we going to include there? And then how to actually dedicate it before first use. All right, you ready? Away we go. How to do this with all six senses. So the first off is, what do you see? Using the sense of sight. So cover it in something, drape it in something, make a space that is different, a little regal, white of course being traditional, but in the untraditional year, what color would you like to use? What color to you evokes the spirit and the feeling that you're trying to create and to capture and to tap into? You know, maybe sometimes your space gets to be a little diverse and performative, because as you see here, Rabbi Yarkin is under her talit but you could also almost think about it as she's in an Ohel Moed, a tent of meeting.
Yeah, this is actually not my tully. This is just some
Oh.
green fabric, because
There you go.
green is, for me, one of my favorite colors. It's very positive, and I'm going to put it up behind me so that it just feels different and special. So again, that's something we encourage you to play with. And I also brought along a photograph of my siblings, because I love them to pieces. And this photograph is sitting with me right next to me, so I can look into their beautiful faces for the entirety of my services. And again, you can have fun with this as well. I have flowers here that they're going to also play in when we come to some other senses as well. But I don't normally do this, and I was like, nope, let's get some flowers just for this and have fun with it.
Yep.
So.
And I'm actually still working on mine.
If people have any other ideas as well, or you've already been doing this, maybe for Shabbats or Friday night experiences, let us know, because this is, Julie and I got together and brainstormed this stuff. But if you have other ideas, you're a very creative bunch. I know a lot of you quite well. So feel free to make suggestions as well, or tell us what you do if you're already finding that you do some of these things.
Right. And I was just showing, I got a bunch of the little LED battery operated glittery tea lights, and I'm kind of working on an ambient setting for myself as well, so that I can have something to look at. I'll change out the virtual background and just to sort of, create that thing, because that's one of the things that we like. We go to a place that's familiar to us. We want to see something. We want something right there in our sight line right away that helps with that, and that brings us that very familial sense, because sense memories run deep through all the senses. So just think about, what are the things that when you look at this space become evocative and make it transformative and start to take you to that place that you want to see and look at. All right, so then we go to sound. We've taken it all in with our eyes. And now, what does it sound like around us? Are you indoors or are you outdoors? Are there sounds of nature? Could that be a part of a backdrop almost that you use? Do you have a soundtrack? Maybe you're the kind of person who really enjoys that, and you want to curate or discover a playlist that maybe you play at different times that, again, kind of keeps that mood running. If you're a Spotify person, there are a number of Rosh Hashanah playlists that are out right now, general high holidays, and the themes are all over the place, but it's wonderful because sometimes they are curated by a community and you get a lot of different input. So just thinking about in some of the in-between spaces. And then it's actually time for services. So this is the year that if you're one of those people who likes to tap and to drum and to this and that, go to town. Go to town. The drummer you have always wanted to be, the percussionist, let him out. This is the year if you want to do that, because no one's going to stop you. Do you have your own shofar? Do you want to blow your own shofar? Absolutely. And on the one hand, as we would say, sing out, Louise, because you are singing. If you've never been the one who wanted to sing in the room with however many hundred people, this is your year. Own your aria, claim it. This is your year to sing it all and balance it with those times of intentional silence.
Exactly. There may be moments where you want to shut everything off. So for example, if you're receiving this on your laptop, you might want to silence your phone for a little bit so there aren't distractions. You might not want to sit by the air conditioner that's very, very loud, or have the dishwasher running, because that can just be those little nuisances that get in the way. You might want to give some heavy drugs to your babies so that they don't cry so loudly. And again, I think we briefly touched on this last 2 weeks ago when we met, but we didn't go into detail. But we encourage you to be your own percussionist, because it's easier than ever. You don't have to go and buy a drum kit. You can go into the kitchen and just get a ladle and a saucepan. Now, I'm being serious. It's really fun to do that, particularly in like those early Psuke de Zimra psalms of, you know, the Hallelujah, 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 El B'Kodshor, Hallelujah, B'Minim V'Ugav. We're talking about praying to God with instruments that were in the temple, like cymbals and violins and drums. And you can bang along and have fun with this. And you can make your own percussion. So for example, this is a little medicine jar, my pill jar, and I've got very cheap little rings. And, you know, when Cantor Aronoff is singing delightfully, or if you've got a nice upbeat choral piece, because we have a quartet that we are weaving into several places in the service, it might be a really good time to do that and to feel unself-conscious. So feel free to have, to get creative with sound, as well as silence. So yes, any thoughts or questions so far, or do you just want to check that I haven't gone insane? You're good? Beautiful. Let's continue in that case.
Awesome. All right, so now we're starting to get an idea of what it could look like. And now we have an idea of what it could sound like. So now let's take it in. Let's take in the smells. Let's take in the aromas. Those are the things that I know for me can take me right back to any place in my time. And just, I am so grateful for my taste of my sense of taste and smell, knowing that there are people who have that compromise through, you know, through everything that's been going on. So frequently in the Torah, a lot of times when it's talking about specifically sacrifices, it actually references the concept of reach nichoach, something with a pleasing smell, and how important that is to the ritual at hand that's being done. So pleasing is all over the place. There's so many options for that.
So yeah, it was just, we loved this analogy for reach nichoach. That is literally one of the most pure and direct ways to offer and bless God. That half of the reason that the holy priests would offer up sacrifices every day was in order that there would be this continued smell, because God loves smelling the flavors and the wafting incense of the temple and on the altar. And it wasn't that God would eat the food, but God in the Torah loves smell. So at Shul, it's often hard to do this. Like I've had previous years where I've thought, is there a way that I can somehow add a ritual of smell to our prayers? But there's so many of us in the sanctuary and different people have different smells. And also I know that I add my own smell by getting very sweaty by the end of the services, wearing my talit and my kittel. So I try to put on nice vanilla chai deodorant. So that's my smell, my contribution to the auditorium. But we can really play around this year. And I know that it's not, you know, halakhically what we tend to do in terms of burning candles, but if your Yom Tov candles are already lit and you have your lights that might go on for the 48 hours of the Chag, you can transfer a flame. And there are other ways to make nice smells. For example, roses, flowers. Not only are they visually beautiful and they give a sense of specialness, but haha, delicious. And there's just that thought that this is pleasing to God and you get to choose your own smells. So
I made a rare trip to the market the other day, and I passed by the fresh herb section, and I just wanted to stay there because, you know, again, for everybody pleasing, not everybody is floral and not everybody is sweet. Sometimes it's that very clean, verdant, very herbaceous, earthy smell. And we also know that there's people who have a lot of sensitivities to smell, and possibly for you, the reach nichoach is nothing at all. And it's a time now where that's going to give you pleasure, whether it's something that, you know, affects, you know, your respiratory or your focus or whatever. You know, reach nichoach is that which is, you know, both pleasing to God, but pleasing to you as well. And that has you get into that headspace of being able to take in the whole moment. So again, you know, it's kind of like an and also, you know, what else could you utilize to evoke smell and to bring in a pleasing smell and engage that sense while you're doing it? So, and I actually got a new candle. It is lemongrass bamboo, which I just like because, again, it's just a very clean and just very fresh smell. And
Is that what you did with your lemons?
That is not what I did with my lemons. My lemons made really lovely limoncello because I was thirsty, but not for lemonade.
So I want to have a check-in. Does anyone else, again, or anyone having like ideas being triggered with these slides? Does anyone think, you know what? Yeah, here's a smell I want to have going, or you know what? I'm going to cook this specific thing on Rosh Hashanah and make sure that it's kind of in the background. Does anyone want to play around with this idea and maybe help inspire me? Because I bet there's things I could do. Because I know some of you are darn good cooks as well. I've tasted some of your cooking. And yeah, definitely encourage you to make yourself your favorite meals, for example, which again, this is going to play into our next slide. So.
All right, so the taste of the holidays. So, you know, we have two holidays. We have feast and we have fast. This is feast. It's a nice feast. So, of course, apples and honey. Everyone is very familiar with apples and honey. Why, Rabbi Yarkin, is that a jar of honey that somebody sent you through the Women of Adat?
I received my honey jar from Amy Mazur and the Women of Adat, and I will be using it and dipping, probably not this apple because it might be bad by the time it's Rosh Hashanah. Also, my little son steals my apples now and just gnaws them as teethers. So, but yes, another apple will serve the place for my apple and honey. And hopefully everyone got your honey through the mail. And if not, tell me because we'll make sure you're hooked up. So absolutely.
So definitely got my honey. And the honey is a lot of fun. I was actually looking, I all of a sudden have a honey collection, which is an accident and it never happened. But what could it look like if on one evening you got out, if you have different types of honey that have different derivations and did a honey tasting? You know, and actually compared, like what does it smell like? What does it taste like? Is it a different color? And like just take in that whole moment. I mean, normally that's not a thing that we do, but if the world can do wine tastings and cheese tastings and beer tastings and chocolate tasting, then I say bring on the honey. If it were a year where people were going to the markets, I would say, and also go out and try to get different types of apples and play with that as well, but I'm not advocating that. So after apples and honey, a lot of people go to pomegranates. You know, pomegranates, they are round, they have a crown, they are very full. There may or may not be 613 seeds inside of one, corresponding to 613 mitzvot in the Torah, may or may not. But the pomegranate also becomes really a symbolic food as well, along with the round challah. Then we start to get into a whole category of foods that are called simanim, which are symbols. A lot of times these come up in a Rosh Hashanah Seder. Yes, you can have a Seder on Rosh Hashanah. And a lot of times these foods are very symbolic, but what they almost become is wordplay and bringing it in there. So there's, I believe it's a Mizrahi or Sephardi tradition about the fish heads, whether they're real or fake, because you would rather have a head than a tail. And then there's other little ones that come in. I'm going to actually show you a slide in a minute, but to have like little wordplay, like somebody said that they were going to put out, a snack that they used to refer to as ants on a log, which is raisins on peanut butter on celery, because one of their hopes for the new year is a raisin celery. Oh, just little things like that. But that's part of the joy. And by the way, if you have opportunity to get to or get someone to go to for you Trader Joe's and you don't want an actual fish head, they have their Scandinavian swimmers, which are the hechshered kosher version of Swedish fish, and they make a lovely accent on anything. So we get to have food that again is evocative, but also just tastes good. And again, shameless plug, Andreas is going to be doing a special Rosh Hashanah menu, and maybe I'll be the one who delivers it to your house, but they are looking at that too. So talking about some of the simanim, again, these are signs or even considered omens, And there's a lot of different Jewish teachings about them, but this is where some of the traditions come from, and there's even a blessing for each little one. So we have the fish, and then a fish or a sheep head. We have gourds, and we have something called rubia, which are small little beans. And again, see down here, let us have a raise in salary. Wah, wah, wah. You can then go the apples dipped in honey. There's carrots, leeks, dates, beets, pomegranate seeds that can come in any kind of way. A tradition that I personally always like to do on Rosh Hashanah is, if I was going somewhere, was to bring a brand new fruit, something that you hadn't had in a year or more, something you've never actually seen in a store before and that you're curious about, although make sure you know it's ripe first, because otherwise that can make for a less than tasty Rosh Hashanah experience. But the first new experience of the year. Which then goes to the fact that we kind of didn't throw this in, but just thinking about, you know, it's Rosh Hashanah and we're at the first meal together, and it's a Shehechianu moment. In a time when days are crazy and, you know, we are where we are now because of what's going on, and, you know, that's that. How many Shehechianu moments can we get? And the answer is yes. There's a lot of them out there, because each time it's a first, each time it's something special, it's sometimes new and unique. You can just multiply your Shehechianu exponentially and just kind of let it mushroom out and see how much. If you've never done a Rosh Hashanah Seder before, Shehechianu. If you get something new to adorn the place that you're going to use as your makom, Shehechianu. Every single moment, there is a space in there that we can insert more Shehechianu, more gratitude for getting to this place and this time and this experience exactly as it is, where it is, when it is.
Hands up if your custom has been to bring a new fruit or even a new food to the Seder, because that was actually something that growing up we would try to do that. And again, it's the exactly what Julie said. It's the excuse to say the Shehechianu prayer a bunch of times. Beautiful. I saw a couple of hands. Hands up if you are encouraged, and if this has been your minhag, your custom, to wear something new, to go out and buy new something. Because again, this is something that it's definitely quite prevalent in the Orthodox community, which was where I grew up. But we were all meant to wear new clothes, sometimes entirely new clothes, because symbolically it was about being new, being ready for change, for again, the opportunity to say a blessing, the Shehechianu blessing. But whether it was new shoes or a new dress or a new hat or a new something, it was something we would do as kids growing up. So again, I saw a couple of hands, and that's so exciting that it's not just me. But this year particularly, even though not everyone can see it, it means you're going to be doing it for this very pure reason of self-care, of showing up for God, or whatever concept in the universe you believe in, just showing up for yourself. And again, that will also transition a little bit into our next slide. But I encourage you to order something off Amazon or whatever online buying service you endorse, and be able to have something fun there.
Right.
And then into touch.
Yeah. So, okay. So then we're into touch. So this is a tactile experience. You can't help but not be. You know, I'll tell you, I'm one of those people who wants to make sure that I have a machzor, because I still have not gone over to the Kindle side. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I need to touch books. I love books. I love paper. I love the feel. Like that for me is a part of it. But tactile is more than just what's holding your hands. It's your seating arrangements. Is everybody, are you on a couch? Maybe you've set up some bean bags or something like that. Maybe you've got like a nice chaise lounge. You know, possibly you want to really create a spot that's like very intimate. You've decided to make a pillow fort or a blanket fort. That's fantastic. Thinking about how you're going to arrange the seating over whatever it is you're actually going to be looking at while you stream services. Will it be on your big television? Will it be on your laptop? And kind of how do you want to do that? Other items that might conjure up very specific sensory memories. So of course, we've got Rabbi Yarkin's actual beautiful talit. You know, Are you wearing a talit? Are you wearing a kippah? Are you wearing a hat? What are you actually wearing? Are you dressing up? Are you dressing down? Are you, what exactly? Are you wearing something beautiful in white? Are you also wearing a kittel? Come Yom Kippur, are you wearing non-leather shoes? Are you wearing sneakers? Maybe you want to make this a fully inclusive opportunity. And if you have pets, are your pets with you? Are you using them? Because what a wonderful opportunity to have a stuffed whale, to have a whale of a time. But if you have a pet,
it's Jonah.
It's Jonah.
It's yes.
Yes.
It's my Yom Kippur moment, which we bought specially. And yeah, no, Julie is absolutely correct here, as I have been modeling what she has been saying. How again, lovely an opportunity it is to still dress up if you like. And we also want to give you permission to dress down if you like, because this year you don't have everyone staring at you, and you can be who you need to be. If you're someone that, you want to be serious and formal and look as gorgeous as you can and have a nice bath, go for it. But again, if this year you want to say, I don't want to have to wear a suit, I don't want to have to be formal and uncomfortable, I'm going to do it in my pajamas. That's between you and your creator, and it's okay. Because again, you'll show up whatever way you wish, and we want to give you permission to make this your own. Because again, comfort on Rosh Hashanah is the name of the game. Now for Yom Kippur, which Julie also alluded to, we actually do have these customs which are not in the Torah. The Torah says to afflict your soul. It doesn't say to afflict your body, but the rabbis have interpreted over time as don't wear leather. So there's the practice that you may remember from previous Yom Kippurs that people don't wear leather shoes or leather belts, or leather purses. And again, there are many different rabbinic reasons for that, which we'll maybe go into another time, but you can play around with that and you can take off your leather things so that you've got that difference from Yom Kippur to Rosh Hashanah. And again, as you saw, I'm wearing my white dress, which is the dress I wear under a kittel, because again, I've just been rabbinically brainwashed that I have to wear white every high holiday, because obviously you don't want weird things sticking out under the kittel. So just a plain, pure white dress or white shirt. And again, this is also a very Israeli tradition, particularly on Yom Kippur. It brings back memories of when I was in Israel for Yom Kippur, and the whole of Israel wears white because it's an angelic, pure color. It's that the slate is washed clean, and we don't have dirt, and we're not complex, we're simple. So again, if you don't have new clothes and you can't be bothered to get fancy, you can wear plain. You can dress as a ghost if you want, just bed sheets, and again, like it's a really fun way to make these days your own. So again, I'm being somewhat traditional with my Jewish paraphernalia, but again, I'm also having some fun with just things that I want to wear. And yeah, I'm definitely not going to wear shoes.
You can absolutely, this could be, I've gotten a little bit of feedback there. This could be, the barefoot holidays. If that's you, if you are a barefoot person, especially if part of your time you might be outside and you like that feeling of your toes in the grass, barefoot, poolside if you dare. But any of those things are great. To have your pet with you and share Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, all of the holidays with your pets. Every day can be bring your pets to shul day. For families who might have younger ones, invite the kids to bring a friend as well. Invite them to bring a stuffy, and let it be something that everybody can do. Because again, with the themes and everything going on, it's very much about sometimes just getting that level of comfort and everything else, and all of the things that you've ever possibly thought that you might want to have in services, like, oh, it would be nice if you put them in your house, you have them, and then you have an Eruv if you're an Eruv kind of person, because then you're in your own house. So that's it. And at the same time, if you really feel the need to do this in very hard chairs with straight up backs, and you want to go out and get yourself some, 2x4s and zip ties, because that is the feeling that you need to have, because you are just such an auditorium person that you don't know how to experience it any other way. And depending on if you sit in the front where Joette sits, where it's about 42 degrees colder than just slightly back of where I sit, and you want to, do the whole thing sitting on a block of dry ice, you can do that too. All of these things are perfectly fine because this is your experience. These are your senses. So we got the big question, and of course I probably already gave it away, but what is the sixth sense other than a Bruce Willis movie? And the answer is what we like to call the feels, or as the kids like to say, all the feels. And this is your overall, it's your gestalt. This is your overall qualitative experience that brings in everything. Because once you have taken all of your external senses, once you have created something to you that is visually pleasing, where you have the sounds, where you breathe in and it starts to fill your nose and trigger your brain, and the things that you taste, and then all the things around you that you feel, then it becomes an internal process. And this is where our emotions and our intentions come in. This is where we get to tap into sacredness, because what we're doing is sacred work. But we also get to learn that sacred looks different for a lot of people. And now is the time, and it's a wonderful opportunity to tap into that notion of what is sacred to you, and to infuse that into whatever the space is as well. This year, the feels come with, it always did, but still, again, permission to do and permission to not do. Permission to explore things differently, to ask big questions, to ask small questions, to ask no questions at all, and to embrace enoughness, because this is it. We can only do what we can do. And the one thing that I can tell you is, amongst the many, many things that Adat Ariel is doing between now and the high holidays and for the high holidays, we are actually not having a Better Homes and Altars competition. Like, this is you. And it's not, there's going to be a lot of things on Instagram, and you may wind up having Makom envy, but this is you. This is about you, your reflection, how you want to get to take things in. And by the way, that might mean almost no effort at all. And guess what? Still okay. Still really okay, because this year, and I hope that, and for me, this is actually something I hope that we carry forward. It's about permission giving. It's about permission giving. And it really is. And, that also then takes us back to the whole concept of keva versus kavanah. Rabbi Yarkin, you want to go into that a little bit?
Yes, this is a rabbinical term, almost a categorization that the people in the Mishnah would argue around to say, what's better if you can only do one? And we've actually already heard the word keva earlier today, which was the slide, a makom kavua, the place that is fixed, a fixed place. And keva is it's the instructions, it's the doing, it's the set text, This, the order that our mahzor is in, is the keva. It's the structure, and a lot of Jews do Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur by reading all of this in the right order, and they won't go off book. And it doesn't matter if their heart is in it or not, and it's okay, because for them, doing it is important. And keva is that, it's the commandment itself, it's the deed. Kavanah, kaven, is a much harder word even to define. It's beautiful. It actually means kiven. It's about directing your emotion, and again, it's often translated as intention. So kavanah is, how do you feel when you're praying the Shema? And there are certain prayers that the rabbis say you need both keva and kavanah. So it's important for the Shema, at least, because the Shema itself talks about the heart. Love God with your heart. Be there, be present, accept that God is one. It's important to feel that in your bones and not just to say it. But, by the way, there are so many other prayers that your obligation is checkmarked if you just say it, and you can be fantasizing about what you're going to be having for lunch. And as long as you say the words, it's fine. And Judaism actually, there's always these arguments, is Judaism even a religion of keva or kavanah or both, you know? And if you could only have one, what's more important? And the obvious reality is that the balance of both is ideal, because if you're robotically, methodically performing your mitzvah after mitzvah, it's meaningless. You haven't become transformed, you haven't grown, and you're not participating in your own journey. You know, you're along for the ride, but you're not experiencing it, and it's not changing you. However, there are other people who they're all about the feels, the touch, the but if they're not actually doing anything, then that's a problem as well. So if you just intended to give tzedakah, but you don't give tzedakah, oh, but the intention was there, you know, or I didn't mean to hurt your feelings, well, that's also not ideal. So the ideal is to be able to fuse a little bit of both, to play with the structure, to allow yourself to not just be keva, be fixed, go through each and everything in the order that, you know, that is suggested, but also to lean in to what's hard and to what is boring. Because a lot of people find a big long machzor so challenging. The keva gets people down. I know I struggle with it. The daily prayer, particularly when there's mincha and mariv, I struggle when I say, I've just said the aleinu for mincha. Do I now have to say it again for mariv? That is a keva moment that I offer two aleinus for two different prayer services, even though I'm like, God clearly doesn't need to be praised twice within 10 minutes. God gets the message. Is God that needy? No. But that's the structure that our Jewish tradition has given us. Oh, this is what we do. This is what mincha and ma'ariv looks like. And it's lovely to have some routine and some fixed places. But it's also so important to make it meaningful, to play. And again, this is the year where we're going to be more kavanah than keva. For a start, your prayer leaders, we've tried to minimize the prayer services. They're still long. So don't worry, if you're someone that loves long services, it's going to happen. Because again, we didn't want to cut too much out for those people that love the keva. And as conservative Jews, we're right in the middle of meaning, because if something is completely obnoxious and toxic and meaningless, we have scrapped it. But we're also a tradition that preserves, that conserves a lot of our Jewish practices. So we're bringing you a lot of those as well. But here's the beautiful thing. You're at home. You're on mute. We can't see you yawn or take out a different book and read a different book, you know, and you can do your own thing as need be, or, you know, pray a different prayer or sing it in a different tune and go to the places that you need to go to get to you the feels. Because really, overall, that's our aim. And again, the permission, we give you the permission to lose the keva if you can't bear it this year, and to just go to the kavanah. And also, again, if you're feeling just a little bit heartsick, if you're just missing, if you're a bit in grief for what normally is, and you just say, I can't, I'm alone, I need my community to get me there, I'm not going to have much of a kavanah. It's just not meaningful this year. I'm apathetic towards the high holidays. That is a correct feeling to have as well. If it just seems so trivial and small to care about this, you have permission to not get spiritual and touchy-feely with the beautiful roses. You can just say, like, I'm going to show up for half an hour one day on day one of Rosh Hashanah, get one of my amidas in, listen to the shofar, done, and you know, Roger and out. You are allowed to also do that. So really, really give yourself that permission. Know that this has been one of the hardest years for society, and it's going to be, as we've talked about time and time again, a very different high holiday experience. And just like Pesach was different, and everything in the past several months has felt like we're underwater or in an alien world. And we know this is going to be the case. So these are tools, these are suggestions, options, and you can choose your own adventure here. But we do hope that at some point you come away and feel the feels, you know, that sixth sense is engaged because you've engaged the other ones and had the chance to have fun with this.
You know, keva and kavanah are another one of Judaism's really beautiful, you know, point counterpoint. You know, I think about it with the Yetzer Ra and the Yetzer Tov, how you have to have both because it gives you perspective and nuance and understanding and empathy, and they feed off the other, because one without the other gives you a limited view of the world. And that's kind of where keva and kavanah are as well, because all keva can, for some people, just come down to, well, look at me, I did a thing. It's like, oh, look at me, I met my quota. I stayed for X number of pages in the Machzor. And again, all kavanah, all intention, but without actions behind it, then says, well, for the sake of what? For the sake of what? And yeah, Rabbi Yarkin and I were just both echoing each other at this point, because when we talked about how to put this together, we both kept coming to the same points, which is permission, identifying what's sacred is to us, and enoughness. Maybe it's not elevating everything. Maybe it's just finding one thing and taking that one thing and elevating that and making that your focal point. It is what it is. And for me, kind of the headspace that I had to get myself into, and it's how I'm really approaching everything, is I am doing everything in this moment unapologetically. And by unapologetically, I'm meaning I'm not apologizing for what anything isn't, because it's not my fault. It's out of my control. And I don't need to lead with that statement every time, because duh, we all know why we're here and how we got here. And just from they're just the prevailing atmosphere. And so whatever the moment is, this is the moment. This is the moment. These are the people, these are the resources. And now we go. And that is where, for me, when I can keep my focus there on anything and everything, it actually helps get me forward. So, dedicating your space. So now you have the space and you're ready to go, and you know what you hope to get from it. So now you actually get to dedicate it. And we already have a ritual for separation, because what you are doing is not only dedicating this space, you are now making it holy. You are imbuing it with special and unique and wonderful powers and capacities that it might not have had before. And as such, we already have a blessing for this. So whether you actually do it on Havdalah or just on your own, to take a step back, look at the work of your hands and your heart, and actually say, Baruch atah Adonai, hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol. Blessed are you, source of creation, who separates holy from ordinary. And right there, by putting a blessing into the space, things have now become different. If you want to take dedication a step further, come up with some type of even a little portable mezuzah, or maybe it's a shviti or a mizrach or any other type of thing that could be done in any number of ways. So for example, to take an outline or a coloring page or something that's found online, or maybe that you get maybe in the shape of a hamza or something like that, and have everybody in your home, everyone who's going to be in your space with you, write on it something they want to bring with them into the space. Set an intention and then post it there. Or if you're actually creating a barrier, put it there and dedicate that space and say, these are the intentions we're bringing in with us. You could do it on a mezuzah. If you have a mezuzah in your house, you can do that as well. Another thing to do could be beforehand, maybe as part of your decoration, is create paper chains and have the people who are going to be in your space with you write things on there, the things you want to take into the new year, things that connect you. Have friends say, these are the things we want to bring into our space. Email us some suggestions and then write them out yourself on paper chains and put it there. Find ways of bringing other people in. Or maybe it's a jar full of gratitude or intentions or anything like that everybody can contribute to before, and then pull them out one at a time to see what they are, or bring things in and continue to add them, and then maybe hold on to them for a while. But all of these things combined with hamavdil ben kodesh l'chol are ways that now that you have created the actual physical spaces and set what you're hoping to both put in and take out of this, now you can actually dedicate it. And you could say, this this space right here, right now, this is for something more holy, more special, more different than it was yesterday. Rabbi Yarkin, you look like you wanted to say something.
Yes, I was just reading through the chat, and there was a question a little bit earlier that I thought, let me just try to answer that before I forget. And then also we're going to open this up to any questions or any responses or comments. It was a really lovely question, which is, if you don't have a Torah in your home, do you still have to have your talit and your tzitzit and all of those kind of paraphernalias? And the answer is yes, but you don't have to. So yeah, that was a lovely, wonderful question there. Because technically, in the Torah, the mitzvah of tzitzit is that you get to wear them under your garment, but so you can see your fringes every day of your life. We then said, you know what, let's only do that when we're actually having Torah rituals, so that we can directly interact with the Torah that suggests that we do that. And when we make an aliyah, it means that we don't have to directly touch the Torah. So it protects the parchment and the very expensive, precious nature of the Torah. But I would encourage you, if it's your practice, to wear your talit, because again, you'll feel special, you'll feel like you're in synagogue. And remember what happens on Kol Nidre.
Stays on.
Yes, and also you're going to actually use the talit at home when you're saying the Shema. So, you know, the tzitzit paragraph is still there in the service, and if you're wearing your talit, you're all set.
Yep. So it's a lovely question. And also, again, there's no shame in not wearing your talit. If you say, but that's something I want to put on in shul, it's not comfortable, it's not something I habitually wear, and again, I don't have an aliyah, it's okay to not wear a talit as well. But if it's your custom, if you would like it, if you've got it at home, then feel free to wrap yourself in your talit, and it's still a personal prayer shul. Shul spelled S-H-A-W-L. So, and again, a kippah as well, which is just that personal reminder of, I'm not the most powerful thing in the universe. There's something beyond me and above me. And again, if you would like to wear a hat or something else, you can. And again, going back to our permission to do what you need to do to get you to that space, you don't have to. Maybe this is the first time ever that you say, I'm not going to wear a kippah. I'm going to see what it feels like, you know. So really, really, you know, own this, have fun, because otherwise you're just going to resent this year, because again, it's not an ideal year. So that's what I wanted to add to that. I'm just going to have a look at the chat to see if there's any other questions, and we are absolutely going to that.
Right. So I saw the question about how the service is going to be organized. I wanted to share one more resource with everybody, and then I know that you wanted to walk everybody through the High Holidays section of the Adat website and talk about that. So how does that sound?
Absolutely.
Okay. So a really wonderful resource that I want to share with everybody is the website High Holidays at Home. So some people before have heard of Haggadot.com, which is a massive repository of all of the parts of a Passover Seder, so that you can construct your own or borrow somebody else's or create content. Well, when they saw, the people who were there saw what was going on, they're like, you know what, we need to really get stuff out there for the high holidays, which is fantastic. And so there is now highholidaysathome.com, which is full of all kinds of seders and rituals and prayers and things like that. So if you're looking for some additional new resources, fun and different and unique things to bring in, this can be an absolutely fantastic website. There are some whole booklets that are already put together. This one right here, Seeker Season, is amazing. It was illustrated by a woman named Jessica Tamar Deutsch, who is just a gifted artist. Here are some different seders. This one over here, the 4 Toast Rosh Hashanah Seder, is really lovely, the way that they set it up. Some of these are a little bit more for families with younger kids. Some can be done by anybody. It even talks about tashlich, what to do if you don't have a body of water, and what are some ways to do tashlich, and what are some other ways to understand that. So again, here's some more even craft projects. There's a lot more than was already there. It's an activity called an apologies exchange and some other reflections on Elul. So these are just some of the things they had, and those are booklets that are already put together, but you can also still kind of pick and choose and take things from different places. So this I just found is a wonderful brand new, like maybe 2 months old repository of all kinds of resources for this year. And this is all part of the material is coming by the people who actually work for this organization. And some of it is also user generated. I might have snuck a couple of pieces in there myself. So, which is exciting to know that other people want to do that. And if you, by the way, find something this year that you incorporate into your service, if you're a writer and maybe you write a new kavanah, a new intention, a new something, these are wonderful things to share with people. They really, really, really are. Because you never know how something that you do is going to impact someone else.
Julie, one of the things that you didn't get to see last time we met, although I told you about it because I was so excited, is this group, and I think there's at least 50% of you who were here 2 weeks ago. We wrote our own Ki Anu Amecha. We came up with a beautiful, concise poem, which was different modern metaphors for God.
Yes.
And it was gorgeous, gorgeous. You know, God, you know, we are the bread, you are the leavening dough. You know, God is the lighthouse that guides us, you know, in the dark. We had such wonderful metaphors. And yeah, this is a creative group indeed, and you can absolutely go for it.
And the last resource that I'll share with you is right now we are about halfway, according to last night's moon, we seem to be about halfway through Elul, and I really need to put the brakes on. And Elul is a month of preparation. It's when we really start to do things differently. It is the wake-up call, which is why every morning starts with the shofar. So another one of my wonderful colleagues and dear friends, Sharon Diamondstein, who works at the Jewish Center of Princeton, we put together Elul for You, which is an interactive Elul calendar. We have it set up so that a new page is revealed daily. And of course, when I reveal the new page tomorrow, I will do for all of Shabbat. So you can always go backwards, but you can't go forward. You can't get to a day that you haven't had yet. But we put this together and it has a variety of activities in it. So we have sort of the kickoff explaining how we came up with the components on it, because what we based it off of was a kids song that's called Alive, Awake, Alert, Enthusiastic. And we set up each week of Elul, which we're in right now. First, you have to be conscious that you're alive. Then you're awake. Then you start paying attention. You're alert. You're enthusiastic, and then it's Rosh Hashanah. So we went and put this together in a number of different ways. We are almost done with the second week, and so today's slide was a reflective writing exercise. Imagine I am the world, and I was just created. And when I grow up, I hope to be. And to go from there and do some first-person writing and imagine that. So I invite you, and we will share these links as well for the different websites that we're sharing, to go ahead and to do that and to be a part of all of those things. So I'm going to stop sharing because I know that Rabbi Yarkin now wants to actually walk everybody through Adat's website and answer these really incredible, very Adat-specific questions, which we want to be able to answer for you.
Yeah, I'm going to take the last one first, just because I saw that pop up, and that was from Bridget. So great question. How can we listen to the shofar, and when are we supposed to do this? There are several moments of the shofar happening. First of all, it is actually customary to blow the shofar every morning of Elul. So every day we're getting a shofar blast, I believe at 9 a.m. on Facebook. So I don't know if you do have access to Facebook, but we have our shofar blowers actually blowing shofar for Elul just to get us in the spirit. Day one of Rosh Hashanah is Shabbat, so we don't blow the shofar on Shabbat. But day 2 is a shofar blowing day. That's going to be Sunday, the 19th of September. And we do have a shofar service incorporated into our Rosh Hashanah morning celebration. So that's, and again, I'm going to show you the links, for example, to get that. But if you've signed up, you will receive the password, and you'll be able to go to our website and watch as we live stream and also pre-record all of the high holiday offerings. So there will be at the regular times as well, so after Torah service, and then we also do blasts throughout Musaf. You will get to have the full shofar service experience. We're also trying to see if we can do something live at some point, because obviously it still pales in comparison to actually hear your real shofar. But halachically in the Talmud, as long as you, and this is where kavanah actually comes in, as long as you intend to hear the shofar and the shofar blower intends for you to hear them, then you've actually fulfilled the mitzvah. So when we have out the video of someone like Marty Lasker do a set of shofar blasts, he knows that he is beaming them out to the community and it's deliberate. And then when you tune into him, even if you're not in the room, if you say, I know I'm hearing shofar, the mitzvah is fulfilled. We checked, but halachically, that is Jewish law. It's okay to hear them online because our blowers know that that's happening. It's not like that we filmed them secretly and said, haha, we'll use you for services, because it's meant to be this back and forth, this communication. So I hope that that answered that questions. And
Rabbi, I also want to say that I've been doing listening to the shofar every morning, which is very nice. It's nice to see all the different shofar blowers and all the different locations that they're blowing shofar, like Rabbi Bernhardt blowing shofar sitting in a tree. I mean, that, why not? But what I like about it is there's also a quote, something to think about each day. And you don't have to go at 9 o'clock. It's there. If you go to Facebook, it's there all day. So I'm not there at 9 o'clock in the morning, but I am there every day. So, and it's fun. I really like it.
Yeah, we've had fun with it.
Yeah.
And I can show you where it is on Facebook as well. But yeah, that's a really good, a really great response, Joette. I'm so glad people are into it and checking it out. And yeah, just so you know, that link that I talked about, the link doesn't yet exist because we're still editing all the videos. Because Cantor Aronoff has been spending hundreds of hours laying down tracks for her choir and sending them out and waiting for everyone to send back their recorded versions of their parts, which will get woven together. And our videographer is going to weave those all in. And also, in order to be relevant, Rabbi Bernhardt and I, and this is just a secret between all of us on Zoom, I should really stop recording, but we haven't written our sermons yet, because I didn't want to write a sermon in June. Because what if something else happens? What if something new occurs? I want my sermons to be real and what I'm feeling. And even though I'm such a coward, I never really address like issues of the day. I tend to go more emotional and psychological. But it means that the sermons will be hot off the press. So we're going to record them in a week or two. We're going to push it to the last minute. And then our videographer will integrate those into the services and then put them online and then send out to the congregation the password and the information to access those services. So don't worry if you haven't got that yet. We know that it's coming to you, and we're going to try to make it as simple and user-friendly as possible. So that hopefully also answers a private question that I got. Yeah, I just briefly want to show you the Adat Ariel website, just in case there were some kind of practical questions about High Holidays. And again, I think 70% of you were here a few weeks ago. And we've also added a service as well due to popular demand. But then also we want to just give a few minutes of any more comments, questions. And also it would be lovely to know if this was helpful to you. If at any point, anything that Julie or myself said or showed you, if that triggered something that made you a bit more excited or gave you an idea, or you suddenly thought, you know what, I'm going to try that recipe that I love and haven't cooked for years, but that's the smell I want on Rosh Hashanah in my home, or something like that, because that would just be useful for us to know. And again, if you have ideas of your own, of like, here's something I'm going to try, we'd love to know that too. So have a think about that. I'm going to very briefly show you the website. And Julie, if you want to chime in as well.
I just wanted to give one thought. The first workshop that I went to that was specifically about the High Holidays was actually geared a little bit more towards like family engagement, but it's really for everybody. And what the facilitator said was the difference between a program and experience is piercing the fourth wall, which for us is the screen. You know, if you're looking at a movie and you have that actor who stops and looks right at you, or in the theater, but piercing the fourth wall is where we go from a program, from a thing, to an experience. So even with all of these things, there's one more way to transcend, and that is if you have a somebody, a friend, a Havurah member, a relative, a whomever, find something that you can both share and do together at the same time. So maybe that you have some sort of an inside joke, something that like even from like the high holidays before, and it's like one of those like little wink, wink, nudge, nudge things, but you're maybe not in the same place, and you both decide that you're going to get the same incense or air freshener or fresh herbs or something like that. And when it comes up to that point, to, you know, to both do that together, to have that shared transformational moment. You know, another thing that can be done is, I think that they were talking about sending out some virtual backgrounds, which for some people can, you know, sometimes slow down their bandwidth. But I know that like when we did the 6th grade JLC Siyum in the spring, I sent out a picture of the Deber Chapel, and a lot of the families used that as their backdrop, and it made them feel like we were in the room. So just, you know, as something to think about. It's that moment where, you know, we're going to try to offer these things up, but even amongst, you know, amongst this group, the line between program and experience is when you find that ability to pierce the screen and have a moment that is really, in that moment, shared with somebody else. So, shofar.
Yes, I'm just showing.
What? He's in a tree. You weren't kidding.
Exactly. This is just, if you go to the Adapt Ariel Facebook page, and your page will look slightly different than mine because I'm an admin, so I've got these behind the scene buttons, but you go and just go to where you see videos, and you can see the backlog of all of our videos, or just every day that, you know, you'll see when they're being posted. But you can see we've got different shofar blowers are going around LA, and we add a little shofar quote. It's also got daily minyan and Shabbat services on these as well. You've got, I think, is it Cantor Aronoff doing yay with her doggy in the background. So these are happening. These are the things that Joette is speaking of, and they're preserved. So you absolutely do not have to see them at 9 a.m. Then I just wanted to very briefly show you again the high holidays at Adat Ariel. We've added some of these sections. So just 2 weeks ago, I alluded to the fact that the mahzor was going to be available both live and online as well. And we now have this online. So let me click on this link just to show you that I wasn't kidding. The digital mahzor access. All you have to do is just go to this website and enter a code, and you will be able to create this account and then have the entire high holiday mahzor. And it is the same one that we're all using. It's the Lev Shalem. So when Rabbi Bernhardt and I call out pages, we will be able to, you'll be able to follow that along. And again, obviously it's lovely to physically have a book, and we're going to let you know the timing that you can actually pick up a book, because we're going to open up Adat Ariel. We'll have masks, you know, we'll take lots of steps to pass you things with gloves. And it'll be like a library book system, whereby we will make sure that your number is marked down so that we get the book back and we know, oh, Joette took book number 23. So again, if you don't think you can be trusted with a mahzor, maybe
I believe that the pickups are, I believe it's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday with the high holiday packages.
Yes, that probably is correct. So
I think starting each day at around like 10:30, 10:45, you can drive in. People will put it in your car, and then you can drive out, and you will have, is it Sunday and Monday? I thought it was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I may be wrong. Something
like that. Again, we're all working on different pieces of the high holidays, so that's not a piece that I hold, and I'm sorry for not knowing that. But again, the emails are going to be going out, and we're going to make sure that everyone knows. And again, we've got Selichot coming up. It'll be an online service, but it should be quite lovely. Our Book of Remembrance is being, I think that's ready to go now as well. And yeah, there's going to be, you'll be able to just click here so that you can view it. And again, as we looked at a few weeks ago, which you may have also done in your spare time, we've got our in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, these programs as well, just to kind of, again, if you're someone that doesn't want to learn and doesn't want to just do the praying, but wants to have a musical experience or a healing service or look at some texts. And also, actually, let's just plug this one. It's a workshop, just like what we are doing together. Oops, I just highlighted the whole page. But in between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, I wanted to pull out the Yizkor service and specifically do this, because Yizkor is a very emotional laden experience. And again, the stuff isn't rocket science that I'm going to be suggesting. It's going to be things such as bring a photograph of the people that you love with you. But we'll actually just have the time to really process it. So yeah, that's going to be one of the things that we will get to offer. Yeah, there will be Yom Kippur workshops in the afternoon to help get us through Yom Kippur. We're hoping to do some yoga as well. And what I just wanted to show you, apart from we've added a young service, a young family service on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur as well. We've got all of these things happening, 6 p.m. Kol Nidre is at 6:15 p.m. And we will also be letting you know when Yizkor is happening as well. We have to first make sure that we have, it's funny, once the video is made, we'll know what time Yizkor happens, because we don't yet know how long it'll take until we get to Yizkor. But we'll then have a specific thing so that if that's something that you really want to tune back in for, you'll be able to know, oh, it's at 1:45. So just kind of stay tuned. And again, you can visit this website. I'll put it in the comments. But there's a lot of information here, and it's constantly being updated as well. So I think, yeah, that's hopefully useful information. And there's a lot of electronics that you can buy as well. So it's all happening. Oh, and yeah, just to respond to a question, which was, how are we going to do Sukkot? There will, of course, be the Simchat Torah and all other services online as ever. During Sukkot,
Okay, and I have to.
Are you on your way out?
Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, during Sukkot as well, we have some lovely programs as well. However, like there's a trivia event coming up, but the actual mitzvah of sitting in a sukkah, we are seeing, and again, I can't promise because we're still trying to put it together, if we can do a drive-through sukkah, just to have something nice and high in the parking lot that people can just drive their cars, sit in their cars, maybe roll down the window, you can say your blessing, we can pass you a cookie, and then you can be on your merry way. And again, we just need to make sure that it's designed safely and that it's fine, and then to work out when that would be available. But we are playing around with that. We're also going to show you how it's really possible to make a sukkah that is legally okay, according to Jewish law, without having to build a 20-foot sukkah in your garden. You can actually use your car as 2 of the sides, as 3 of the sides. I did this a few years ago with my 8th graders, and you can do it in 2 seconds with just a little bit of schach, and it doesn't have to be a very big project. You can still get that done. So again, have fun with this. And yeah, Dennis had a really good question just now. Live stream means that we're pressing play on a stream that's going out. So it's happening in real time, as it were. So you won't be able to fast forward it, because we're not just saying, here's a video that you can watch. However, once it's finished, it will then be in the archive. So you can, if you're late, you can then kind of catch up. And 2 of them are actually live. Erev Rosh Hashanah and Ne'ilah are live. But all the other ones, yeah, they are pre-recorded. But we're literally using a streaming service. So again, just the way it's uploaded will feel that everyone who's tuning in will be watching it at the same time. So we thought that was better than nothing.
And the family services will also be live. So if you've always wanted to try out maybe a different service than normal, those will also be live. Terry.
I don't know how to chat. I don't know where you press that. Anyways, so every Friday and Saturday morning for Shabbat, don't ask me how, but we sign on our tablet, and then Jeff makes it go to our TV. There's like a little shtickle button thing. So will this live service be that way or not?
It should be, because if you have the code and you're doing it, that means that you are casting to your television. So whether it's you have an iPod and an Apple TV, or if you have a Chromecast or a Fire Stick, you have a Chromecast, right? So a Chromecast is a wonderful tool to make this device here talk to that device there. So yes, you will be able to cast because it's not on Zoom. Zoom is like the only thing that's like that can be very hard sometimes to cast depending on the kind of television you have. So yes, you will be able to do that. Yes.
Any other questions? These are great, and now is the time. We've still got 5 minutes technically before we said we would end, and it's okay if you have a question you think is a little bit tangential or silly. This is for you, just to ensure that you can get the best out of your holidays. Sheila.
Sometimes we go on and it says sign. I have no way of signing into a dot. I have no idea how to do that or what that means.
It should not require a sign-in right now. That's odd.
No, but for Rosh Hashanah, there's going to be a sign-in, but they're going to send it to us, right?
Oh, right. So if you're clicking on the services right now, it's not that. Is it just when you go to the regular website?
Yeah, other times, yeah, you try to get in to your calendar, to other things, it says sign in.
Oh, it's making a Shul Cloud account. Okay, Shul Cloud is a different webinar for a different day because I can't.
That if you want
break
to
out right now.
Yeah, maybe you've like misled a password or a username or something. If you want to contact, and I can email Jess Bieber, she will just ensure that you do have your own login information. So yeah, but I'm so sorry, that's slightly beyond Julie and I's expertise. And I'm sorry that if that sometimes happens, yeah, we'll have to work out why sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
So I have one more shofar video that I would love to show for off if anybody is down for one more shofar video.
I think that would be amazing. That would be a great way to end this because that's our Elul day. We get to listen to the shofar. So before that, any final last desperate attempts or desires to say something, to ask us? And obviously know that we're still here tomorrow and the next day. You can email me, you can call us, it's all fine. And I'll be seeing you Friday night. I'm co-leading with Kanta Aronoff. So, we are around and at your disposal. And at the same time, we want to say we might not be able to help. It's so tough to not be able to be in each other's homes. I bet I could solve Sheila's problem if I was in her home staring at her computer. And there's no way that I can do that when I'm not able to be with you. And obviously I'd get to give you all big hugs as well if I was in your home. So while we've all tried to think this through and make this as accessible and logical as possible, there's also unfortunately those kind of limits, and we have to be extra understanding and patient with each other, and then silently scream into our pillows at night.
Okay. Are you ready for the video?
Ready.
Do it, I have to.
Here are our sea lions, specifically this little guy, Kane. He thinks he's very loud.
Tikia.
Can you hear it? I think Parker.
Shevarim.
What about you?
Trua. Tikia Gedola. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about this all day, and I have to do it. I have to.
So, there we go.
That was hysterical. I love that.
Thank you for that. That was great.
Had to share that one with
Yes,
everybody.
That was amazing. Oh. Thank
In
you.
a place where there is no shofar, be a shofar.
The entire hour and a half was
We
worth
can
it.
use them on Shabbat.
Right.
Because Rosh Hashanah first day Shabbat, no shofar blowing. Use them instead.
That has my seal of approval.
Oh!
May you be sealed in the book of life.
Oh,
Why I honor.
we're on a roll,
Anyway,
girls.
it can't go higher from here. So I just wish everyone a wonderful Erev Tov, Laila Tov, almost Shabbat Shalom as we get into our close to Shabbat. And also please stay indoors, drink lots of water. It's the hottest Shabbat I've seen ever. So be safe and well. And we love, love, love you and hope that we will get through this together. So Shana Tova Umetuka.
Shana Tova.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Good night.